The age, Sister Amma.
African Karma Stories.
2 a.m. East Legon. The silence in this part of Accra isn't empty, it's expensive. Behind the high, electrified gates of the villa, the air is thick, humid, and perfectly still. The only sound is the low, rhythmic hum of the air conditioner in the hallway. Then, a sound that doesn't belong. A heavy, hollow thud echoes from the ground floor guest wing. Amma is awake before her eyes even open. Her feet hit the cold floor, her heart already racing against a clock she hasn't seen yet. She sprints down the hall, her breath catching as she pushes open her mother's door. She finds Nana on the rug. The woman who once stood tall as a formidable headmistress is now a crumpled, fragile figure in a silk nightgown. Her breathing is shallow, thin, whistling gasps that seem to snag in her throat. There is no time to wait for an ambulance. Kofi is already at the wheel of the SUV, his knuckles white as he tears through the empty, streetlit curves of Independence Avenue. Accra is a ghost town at this hour, a blur of closed shutters and amber streetlights. Amma sits in the back, cradling her mother's head, praying to a god she hasn't spoken to in weeks. Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is a different world. It is bright, loud, and smells of harsh bleach and old sweat. Nurses move with a practiced, frantic energy. Amma is pushed back, forced to watch through the glass of the emergency bay as they hook Nana to a monitor. Beep. 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 The rhythm is erratic. It stumbles, stretches, and then, the sound every child fears. A single, flat, continuous tone that seems to vibrate in Amma's very teeth. Doctors swarm. The flash of a defibrillator. The smell of ozone. A rhythmic, violent thumping on a chest that looks far too small for this kind of battle. After 40 seconds that feel like 40 years, the beep returns. It's weak. It's distant. But it's there. Dr. Mensah finally steps out of the bay, wiping sweat from his brow. He doesn't look relieved. He looks deeply suspicious. He holds a clipboard, his eyes scanning preliminary blood markers that defy logic. He looks directly at Amma, his voice a low, clinical rasp. We have stabilized her heart for now, but the chemistry is impossible. Tell me, Amma, are you absolutely certain she is taking the medication you've been buying? To understand how Nana ended up on a cold floor in Korle Bu, you have to look back 3 months. Before the machines, before the terror, there was a season of perfect, manufactured peace. Being an architect in Accra means your life is measured in deadlines and site visits. For Amma, the guilt was a constant, physical weight. She was building skyscrapers in the city while her mother's health was a crumbling foundation at home. Then came Efua. Efua didn't just walk into the house in East Legon, she glided. She arrived with a folder of glowing references from the most prominent families in the city and a soft, melodic voice that seemed to pull the tension right out of the room. She was a professional. She wore crisp, white scrubs and carried herself with a quiet, performative piety that settled Amma's spirit instantly. The arrangement was simple. Amma would provide the resources, the best food, the cleanest room, and the expensive cardiac medication shipped in directly from a pharmacy in the UK to ensure quality. Efua would provide the 24-hour vigilance. Every morning, the ritual began with a sound that became the heartbeat of the house, the click twist. It was the distinct, rhythmic snap of the child-proof cap on the imported medicine bottles. Click. Twist. To Amma, that sound was the ultimate reassurance. It meant the science was working. It meant the heart that raised her was being protected by the best money could buy. For the first few weeks, the transformation was miraculous. The house felt lighter. Efua was always there, adjusting Nana's pillows, humming hymns, and carefully logging every dose in a leather-bound journal. Amma finally felt she could breathe again. She could stay late at the office. She could focus on her blueprints. She had bought her mother time, and she had bought herself peace of mind. But trust is a dangerous currency when you aren't the one counting the change. Deep inside the mahogany medicine cabinet, the imported bottles were being handled with expert care. But as the weeks turned into months, a subtle, impossible discrepancy began to emerge. The bottles were being opened, the click-twist was echoing through the hallway every 6 hours, but the level of the pills inside wasn't dropping fast enough. While the house slept in its expensive silence, the math was beginning to fail. The midday sun in East Legon is relentless, flooding the bougainvillea-lined streets with white heat. But inside the house, Efua keeps the curtains drawn. She says the light agitates Nana's nerves. In the artificial twilight of the living room, the atmosphere is heavy with the scent of lavender oil and the low, constant murmur of Efua's prayers. Efua remains the picture of professional grace. She carries herself with a soft, unassuming humility that makes Amma feel like a guest in her own home. Every evening, when Amma returns from the construction site, Efua presents the leather-bound care journal. The entries are meticulous: 8 a.m., cardiac dose administered. 10:30 a.m., Nana enjoyed a vibrant walk in the garden. 2 p.m., light lunch, high spirits. But when Amma looks at her mother, she doesn't see high spirits. She sees a woman who once commanded an assembly of 500 students with a single look, now struggling to remember the word for water. Nana is sleeping 16 hours a day. Her skin has taken on a gray, translucent quality, like old parchment. "It's the age, Sister Amma," Efua whispers, her hand resting gently on Amma's shoulder. The mind grows tired before the body. We must let her rest. Then comes the first crack in the porcelain. On a Tuesday afternoon, while looking for a lost earring under Nana's nightstand, Amma finds a small, spiral-bound notebook. It's Nana's private diary, the one she's kept since her days as a headmistress. Amma opens it, expecting to see recipes or school memories. Instead, she finds a single entry from only 3 days ago. The handwriting is a jagged, desperate scrawl, nothing like the elegant script of a retired educator. It reads, "Everything is misty. The tea tastes like copper. I take the pills and the world goes gray. I tell her I am cold, but she only gives me more sleep. I am disappearing." Amma's blood runs cold. She looks at the care journal on the counter, where Efua has written, "Patient was cheerful and alert all afternoon." The contradiction is a physical blow. Amma walks to the medicine cabinet. She listens. From the kitchen, she hears it, the rhythmic click-twist as Efua prepares the evening dose. But this time, Amma isn't comforted by the sound. She waits until Efua leaves the room, then she opens the cabinet and pulls out the newest bottle from the UK. She begins to count. 1, 2, 3. She knows exactly when the prescription was filled. She knows exactly how many doses should be gone. And as she reaches the bottom of the bottle, she realizes the math is impossible. There are 12 more pills in this bottle than there should be. If the pills are still here, what has been disappearing into Nana's system? The erasure of a human being doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow, quiet receding of the tide, leaving behind nothing but empty sand. In the living room of the East Legon villa, the woman who once led staff meetings with a sharp tongue and a sharper mind is now a ghost in her own chair. Nana sits for hours staring at the television. It isn't even on. The black screen reflects her own hollowed-out expression back at her, but she doesn't seem to notice. Her hands, which used to move with the grace of a pianist when she spoke, now harbor a new, aggressive tremor. It's a rhythmic shaking that makes the fine china rattle against the glass table, a sound that grates on Amma's nerves like a serrated blade. "Mom?" Amma asks, leaning into her mother's field of vision. "It's lunchtime. I brought the jollof from that place you like in OSU." Nana turns her head. It's a slow, mechanical movement. For a second, there is a flicker of something in her eyes, a spark of the old headmistress. Then, it dies. "You are very kind," Nana says, her voice thin and polite, the way one speaks to a helpful stranger. "But I'm waiting for my daughter to come home from school. Have you seen her?" The air in the room suddenly feels too thin to breathe. Amma stands there, her heart breaking in a way that feels permanent. Her own mother is looking through her, as if she is made of glass. From the doorway, Efua appears, her white scrubs glowing in the dim light. She slides a hand under Nana's arm with practiced ease. She's having one of her misty days, Sister Amma. The confusion is getting stronger. It's the natural progression. At 75, the brain simply decides it has seen enough. Efua looks at Amma with a face full of manufactured pity. "I think we should increase her rest time. If she sleeps through these afternoon spells, she won't be so frightened by the gaps in her memory. It's more humane this way." But Amma can't shake the image of the pill bottle in the cabinet. The math that didn't add up. The diary that spoke of a copper taste. If this is a natural decline, why does it feel like a robbery? Amma grabs her car keys. She doesn't say a word to Efua. She needs to talk to someone who deals in facts, not pity. She needs to visit the pharmacy in OSU and see the records with her own eyes. By Sunday morning, the house in East Legon isn't just a home, it's a stage. Efua has invited the elders from the local community church to offer a special prayer for Nana. The living room is crowded with men in sharp suits and women in elaborate lace head ties. The air is thick with the scent of heavy perfumes and the rhythmic, rolling cadence of communal prayer. In the center of it all is Efua. She is kneeling at Nana's feet, her head bowed, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles are white. She looks like a saint from an old painting, the tireless, selfless servant of God. "It is a heavy cross to carry," one of the elders whispers to Amma, nodding toward Efua. "To see a mind like your mother's waste away, most young women would have quit weeks ago. You are blessed to have such a daughter of Zion in your house." Amma stands by the window, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. She feels a cold, rising isolation. Everywhere she turns, Efua has already been there, planting seeds of sympathy for herself. During the mid-morning tea, Amma overhears Efua talking to a neighbor over the garden wall. Efua speaks in a low, exhausted tone, detailing how Nana has become difficult and aggressive in the night, requiring more specialized attention. It's a masterclass in social framing. By painting Nana as a burden and herself as a martyr, Efua is building a fortress. If Amma questions her now, she isn't just questioning a nurse, she's attacking a pillar of the community. The pressure reaches a peak when Kofi pulls Amma aside. "He's been talking to the elders too. The church thinks we should give her a formal blessing," he says quietly. "And a bonus. They say the work she's doing is beyond a standard salary. They're suggesting we double her rate for the next month to cover the emotional toll." Amma looks at her husband, then back at Efua, who is now gently wiping a stray tear from Nana's cheek for the benefit of the room. Amma feels like she's screaming underwater. The house is full of people, but no one is actually looking at Nana. No one is seeing the gray skin or the hollow eyes. They are only seeing the performance of piety. Amma reaches into her bag and feels the cold, hard weight of her phone. She is done with the theater. She has spent the morning waiting for a different kind of message, one that doesn't rely on prayers or lace head ties. As the elders begin their final hymn, Amma's phone vibrates. It's a notification from the patient portal at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. The lab results from Friday's emergency admission have been uploaded. In a world of performances and prayers, the numbers on the screen are the only thing that cannot lie. The air in Dr. Mensah's office at Korle Bu smells of old paper and concentrated clinical authority. Outside the heavy door, the hospital hums with the sound of 1,000 emergencies, but inside, it is deathly quiet. The lab report sits on the mahogany desk between them. It's just a single sheet of paper, but to Amma, it feels like a heavy, sharpened blade. Dr. Mensah doesn't speak at first. He taps a silver pen against the edge of the desk, his eyes fixed on a specific column of data. Finally, he circles a number in red ink and slides the paper toward her. "This is your mother's serum digoxin level," he says, his voice flat and devoid of the comfort he usually offers. "Do you see this number? 0.02. Amma stares at the digits. They look small and insignificant. "I don't understand," she whispers. "What does that mean?" "It means," Mensah says, leaning forward, "that for all intents and purposes, your mother has not been medicated for weeks. To find a level this low in someone who is supposed to be on a high-dose cardiac regimen, it's statistically impossible. If she were taking those pills from the UK, her levels should be 20 times this amount." He pauses, letting the weight of the statement settle. "Whatever is in those bottles in East Legon, Amma, it isn't medicine. It's a placebo. Or it's been tampered with so heavily that the active compound is gone. Your mother isn't dying of old age. She's dying of a managed, chemical neglect." The floor feels like it's tilting beneath Amma's feet. Every click twist she heard in the hallway, every prayer Efua whispered over Nana's bed, every sadi she paid for those imported bottles, it wasn't care. It was a slow-motion execution. The rage that follows is not hot. It is a cold, paralyzing frost that starts in her chest and moves to her fingertips. She thinks of the church elders blessing the saint of East Legon, while Nana's heart was struggling to find a beat in a sea of diluted water. She thinks of Efua humming hymns while pouring life out of a capsule and replacing it with chalk. "Don't confront her," Dr. Mensah warns, seeing the look in Amma's eyes. "If she knows you know, the evidence will vanish before I can finish this sentence. You need to go home. You need to act like the grieving, confused daughter she expects you to be." Amma stands up. She doesn't cry. She doesn't shake. She folds the lab report into a small, tight square and tucks it into her pocket. She is an architect. She knows that when a structure is rotten, you don't just patch the walls. You tear it down from the foundation. She walks out of the hospital and into the blinding Accra sun. She has the science. Now, she just needs the footage. The study in the East Legon villa is a tomb of shadows, lit only by the cold, blue flicker of a laptop screen. Amma and Kofi sit side by side, their shoulders touching, but they are miles apart in their shared silence. On the screen, the grainy, wide-angle feed from the kitchen, captured by a camera hidden inside a decorative spice jar, shows a world that exists only when the family is asleep. It is 3:14 a.m. The kitchen is a sea of polished marble and stainless steel, gleaming under the dim range hood light. Efua enters the frame. She isn't wearing her crisp white scrubs, she is in a silk robe, her movements fluid and devoid of the performative stiffness she displays during the day. She reaches into the mahogany cabinet. Click. Twist. The sound through the laptop speakers is tiny, but in the silence of the study, it sounds like a gunshot. Amma grips the edge of the desk so hard her nails dig into the wood. On the screen, Efua doesn't take out a glass of water. Instead, she pulls a small, clear glass jar from the pocket of her robe. She begins a practiced, rhythmic motion. She opens a cardiac capsule, pours half of the white powder into her own jar, and then reaches for a second container hidden behind the flour bin. From it, she takes a pinch of a different, chalky substance and carefully fills the rest of the capsule. She is humming. It's a hymn, the same one she sang with the elders on Sunday. "Look at her hands," Kofi whispers, his voice thick with a mixture of awe and horror. "She's not even shaking. She's done this 1,000 times." Amma watches as Efua meticulously clicks the tampered capsules back into the UK imported bottle. Every move is a calculated theft of Nana's life. Efua holds the bottle up to the light, checking the volume, then tops it off with more of the white filler. Kofi pulls a crumpled receipt from the OSU pharmacy from his pocket and holds it up to the screen's light. "Wait," he says, his finger tracing the date. "This doesn't make sense. We bought a 90-day supply 3 weeks ago. If she was giving the full dose, that bottle on the screen should be half empty by now. But look at it, it's full to the brim." The realization hits Amma like a physical blow to the stomach. Efua isn't just diluting the medicine to make Nana manageable, she's stretching a 1-month prescription into 3, pocketing the extra cash Amma gives her for emergency refills, and keeping the Saint of East Legon narrative alive while Nana's heart slowly starves for the chemicals it needs. The screen goes dark as Efua turns off the kitchen light. The study returns to total blackness, save for the single red light of the recording indicator. Amma stands up. Her legs are steady now. The grief has been burned away, leaving only the cold, hard blueprint of a trap. She looks at the door. Morning is coming, and with it, the final dose Efua will ever administer in this house. The morning light in East Legon is deceptive. It spills across the breakfast table, making the silver spoons and the white porcelain look clean, honest, and safe. But the air in the room is vibrating with a tension that Efua doesn't yet feel. She moves with her usual, practiced grace. She sets Nana's tray down and reaches for the mahogany cabinet. Click. Twist. "Good morning, Nana," Efua whispers, her voice a soothing honey that masks the poison. "It's time for your strength." She doesn't see Amma standing in the shadows of the doorway. She doesn't see Kofi by the window, his hand hovering near his phone. "Stop," Amma says. The word is quiet, but it carries the weight of a falling mountain. Efua freezes. Her hand is still on the bottle. She turns, her face instantly morphing into a mask of concerned confusion. "Sister Amma? You're up early." Nana isn't quite ready for visitors yet. She's very fragile this morning. "She's ready," Amma says, stepping into the light. And so are they. The heavy front door opens, and the sound of boots on marble shatters the manufactured peace of the villa. Inspector Boateng enters first, his face a map of weary, clinical authority. Behind him, 2 uniformed officers move with a speed that Efua can't track. "Efua Mensah?" Boateng asks. He doesn't wait for an answer. He signals to the officers. "What is this?" Efua's voice rises, the honey curdling into a sharp, defensive edge. "I am a professional nurse. You can't just burst into a private home. Amma, tell them. I've given my life to this woman." Amma doesn't say a word. She just points to the white designer bag Efua keeps on the counter, the one she never allows anyone to touch. Boateng reaches into the bag. He pulls out a clear glass jar. It is half filled with a fine, white powder, the cardiac component stolen from Nana's life, ounce by ounce. Then, he pulls out a second container, the crushed chalk used to maintain the illusion of a full dose. Efua's face goes from white to a sickly, mottled gray. The Saint of East Legon vanishes in an instant. Her posture shifts, she isn't a caretaker anymore. She is a predator caught in the high beams. "It's a mistake," she hisses, her eyes darting toward the back exit. I was disposing of contaminated samples. I was protecting her from a bad batch." One of the officers opens Efua's locker in the hallway. He pulls out a handful of unlabeled vials and a stack of folded nursing board documents with "revoked" stamped across the header in fading red ink. The handcuffs click shut over Efua's wrists. The sound is sharp and final, a different kind of click twist. As Boateng leads her toward the waiting police SUV, a silver car pulls up to the curb, blocking the driveway. A woman steps out, her face etched with a pain that has clearly lived there for a long time. Efua stops dead. Her bravado evaporates, replaced by a raw, naked terror. "Mercy?" Efua whispers, the name catching in her throat like a burr. Amma watches as the stranger walks toward them, her eyes fixed on the woman in handcuffs. The trap has closed, but as the stranger begins to speak, Amma realizes they haven't just caught a thief, they've uncovered a graveyard. The sirens have faded into the distance, leaving the villa in a silence so heavy it feels like a physical presence. The morning sun is higher now, turning the garden into a bright, emerald sanctuary, but the air still feels cold to Amma. She sits on the stone bench under the frangipani tree with Mercy. The stranger's hands are shaking as she holds a lukewarm cup of tea. Mercy doesn't look like a whistleblower, she looks like someone who hasn't slept in 3 years. "I saw the police cars from the main road," Mercy whispers, her voice barely audible over the rustle of the leaves. "I knew. In my soul, I knew it was her." Mercy looks at the house, the beautiful, expensive cage where Nana was disappearing. "My father was a judge. A man of iron and law. When Efua came to us, we thought she was an angel. But then, he started to drift. He stopped reading his books. He stopped recognizing my children. He just faded. Like a candle being blown out by a very slow wind." Mercy's eyes fill with tears that don't fall. "I blamed myself. I blamed the clock. I thought it was the natural way of things. It wasn't until after the funeral that I found the jar. Hidden behind the water heater in his room. Empty capsules. Crushed white powder." She reaches into her handbag and pulls out a plastic folder, yellowed at the edges. She slides a document across the stone bench. It's a formal letter from the Ghana Nursing and Midwifery Council, dated 2 years ago. "I tried to fight," Mercy says, her voice hardening. "I filed the reports. They revoked her license, but in a city like this, a woman with a soft voice and a prayer on her lips can always find a new neighborhood. A new family. A new victim who is too busy to count the pills." Amma looks at the document. Efua's name is there, listed under a series of technical flags and unexplained patient declines. The system hadn't failed, it had simply been ignored. A shadow moves in the doorway of the villa. Amma looks up and her heart skips. Nana is standing there. She isn't in her wheelchair. She is leaning against the doorframe, her eyes clear and focused for the first time in months. The hospital had flushed the diluted waste from her system and replaced it with the proper, undiluted dose. The gray mask on her face has been replaced by a faint, healthy flush of pink. "Amma?" Nana's voice is steady. It's the voice of the headmistress again. "Who is that woman? And why is my heart beating so loudly I can hear it in my ears?" Amma stands up, a sob finally breaking through her chest. She runs to her mother, catching her in a fierce, protective embrace. The mystery is over. The thief is gone. But as she holds her mother, Amma looks back at Mercy and the folder of revoked licenses. She realizes that while the thief is in handcuffs, the world that allowed her to thrive is still wide open. The villa in East Legon is no longer a stage for a performance of piety. The heavy curtains are pulled back, and the afternoon sun finally reaches the corners of the rooms that were once kept in artificial twilight. The air is no longer thick with lavender and whispered prayers, it smells of fresh earth and the sharp, clean scent of the rain. Nana is in the garden again. She sits in her favorite chair under the frangipani tree, her hands steady as she turns the pages of her own diary. Her mind is her own again. The mist hasn't just cleared, it has been burned away by the truth. She remembers Amma's name. She remembers the face of her grandchildren. She remembers the woman she used to be. The ritual of the medication continues, but the melody has changed. When Amma opens the cabinet now, she is the one who counts. She is the one who checks the batch numbers and verifies the seal on every imported bottle. The click twist of the cap is no longer a signal of betrayal. It is a sharp, mechanical promise that the heart of this house is being protected by someone who actually loves it. The trial of Fua Mensah begins next month. The evidence is a mountain: the kitchen footage, the diluted jars, and the testimonies of families like Mercy's who finally found the courage to speak. The Saint of East Legon is a headline now, a warning whispered in the markets of OSU and the offices of Santon. But for Amma, the justice isn't found in a courtroom. It is found in the quiet moments on the veranda, watching her mother laugh at a joke she actually understands. In a world where care is a business and trust is a commodity, the only true safety is the person who refuses to look away. You can buy the best medicine, hire the most recommended nurses, and live behind the highest gates. But vigilance has no price tag. Because the truth isn't found in the prayers people say to your face. It's found in the math of the bottles and the silence of the night. Never stop counting. Never stop watching. Because for the vulnerable, your eyes are the only thing standing between a long life and a diluted one.